Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Ron. Sunday morning, a little after 11 a.m. We'll get started and see if we have any questions. Um, on yesterday, what we primarily talked about, we talked about the name again. Pastor has some insight into the names that we started looking at last week. Uh, and look at Kamala's sister's name, and which also meant goddess, and he gave us some insight into that, and we use that as a springboard to go to um, Exodus 34 and talk about the direction that we're headed in and who we are and the intent of what we do, and kind of blended that into the discussion as well. Are there any questions or comments on anything, not even on that, but anything else that you may have that you like to talk about? Anyone? Um, if then no one has a question, I like to go back to Exodus 34. The childlike thing has really intrigued me, and uh, as I read more and more some of the things that books I've had for a while now, like Spirituality Before Religion, and even um, the Shabaka Stone, which was terribly I won't say confusing, but I did not get a firm grasp on it when I first got it. And I'm reading things now that makes a little more sense to me. And I still don't completely see or understand it all, but it makes more sense to me. And someone has something like to share. 735, would you please mute for us, please? Please. Everybody check and see if your phones are muted. Okay. Uh, but as we've talked about the scriptures and the stories in the scriptures, and we look at the fact that a lot of the stories were added, the scriptures were written on solid spiritual principles, and the insight and the wisdom in them is real, but they were manipulated to take control of people, and number two, to bring masculinity into the forefront, and use that to empower themselves and to again manipulate and control everybody. So we still glean what we can from the scriptures, and we also are seeing the tie-in with the spirituality part of it, from Spirituality Before Religion. So with that said, again, I'm gonna ask, are there any questions before I point something out here?
Yeah. Good morning, Ron. Good morning, everyone. This is GC in Philly, and yesterday, Ron, you spoke. I mean, can you hear me? I apologize. I just
No,
want to make
sir.
sure.
Hear you loud and clear. Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and yesterday you spoke, from Exodus 34 in terms of looking at it from the childlike mindset, or looking at it in terms of like from a babe. And I think that, yesterday that really intrigued me, because I think growing up in the church, there was lessons that were taught, there were songs that were taught, and something that really came upon me real strongly was when I know I used to sing a song telling me the stories of Jesus that I love to hear, things that he would tell me if I was here, scenes by the wayside, tales by the sea, but stories of Jesus tell them to me. And I think that as I reflect now, looking at it as a babe or looking at it as a child, I see the importance of spirituality, you know what I mean, before religion, and at the same time looking at it from a perspective of our awareness when we talk about spirituality. And so as you getting ready to go into Exodus 34, I was just excited about not just what I'm learning, but being able to appreciate the origins of our existence, and at the same time becoming more aware of the spirituality in terms of the Kemetic teachings. And if
Yeah,
spirituality is a state of consciousness, then I think that profoundly, as we begin to explore more of the mysteries, or we begin to explore more of the principles, you know, of again, Mayat, or even looking at it in terms of the laws, the 42 laws, is just an exciting time to be able to see it from a babe perspective or from a childlike perspective, but just knowing that, you know, we're growing, you know, in our spiritual evolvement. I just wanted to share those thoughts. I'm done. If there's any questions.
thank you,
I have a
George.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, is the 42 laws of Maya universal law?
Evelyn, yes, they are. And what we need to know is that the earliest aspects of Kemetic philosophy and teachings from a spiritual evolution was that the laws of Maya was the earliest form of morality, teachings, and education. I think Pastor mentioned about that the whole aim of education was to be one with God, to be God, or to have those characteristics. So Maya and the 42 laws are universal principles, if that helps you, Evelyn. I'm done.
Yes, that resonates. Okay, I can see that. Thank you.
They are the universal principles. Yeah. Here's what I mean by that. Um, if each and every one of us remember our individual journey, there was some part of you that caused you to pause when you were in a traditional church, because each one of us, I think, came out of something like that, or maybe we didn't. But at some point in our lives, whether it was from sitting in church or just life itself, we had this feeling like there's something more to this. There's something that I'm missing. There's something else I need to pursue or would like to pursue. And it was that question that became a doorway for you to enter. And that question took you into a different world. And and that is how we all met, following our own little journey. I took Ronald Road, and Evelyn took her road, and all of us took our road. George took his road, and we met at an intersection, and we found that we were all seeking to go the same way. Well, the 42 laws of Mayat to me is a doorway just like that. It invites us to take a journey. So just reading those laws is more to it than that. It is a universal thing that takes you back to your beginning and the beginning and the essence of who man is. So that is really unfolding in me and to me right now, to understand that, and the importance of that, and to look at this thing from a slightly different lens than I saw it in the beginning. So I agree with George, Evelyn. Yes.
So, Ron, we're the universal law, is what you're saying.
Yes,
When I mean by we're the, yeah, okay, the African, that mentality, that mindset is the universal law of Ma'at.
Yes, and we are uncovering that, revealing that to not only to ourselves, but or to the entire world. And I think that is what we talked about yesterday. We talked about being in a different dimension. We're starting to, for lack of a better way of saying it, seeing the elevation that man was intended to be in the very beginning. And somebody help me
Okay,
with that.
I
I'm
see
messing
that.
that up.
Yeah, no, Ron, I think you're right on, right on. I mean, when we talk about a Kabbalah and we look at the essence of our divine connection, we talk about that we are the creators having a human experience, but also, how we treat the creator's creation, is just as significant as we treat ourselves. And so I think that, again, it's all in us. It all is us. And I think we are now, beginning to experience the energy, the vibration, the frequencies, and all that, was intended for us to acknowledge and recognize. And I think we're seeing the manifestations of it now. But those are the two cosmic laws. Again, I'm the creator having a human experience, but the second law is I am to treat the creator's creation as I treat the creator in me. And so if we are love, if we are the universe, if we are that spiritual being, then, we all are one yet many. But like you said, Ron, we just coming into it in our own awareness because of our desires to seek it, if that resonates. And I'm done.
So I have a question. George, you mentioned with Elohim having a human experience. Why isn't the word human not in the Bible? It always talks about man. It never says human.
Well, Evelyn, I think that's part of the doctrination in terms of how linguistically we read and we interpret. Because for a period of time, when I always read about man, I was basically looking at it from the masculine perspective. But as we have, talked about it in the past and have come to a point that we realize that we are both male and female, because again, the two is the one, then I'm able to see it a little bit differently now that in my thoughts, I just don't look at it in terms of just gender, but I look at the spirit of who we are. And I think that gives me a better appreciation in terms of going back now when I read in the Bible or when I read in general. I try not to look at it just from a gender perspective, but look at it from a spiritual perspective, if that helps, Evelyn, in terms of
that resonates.
Okay.
Yeah, that resonates deeply. Thank you.
And I don't think that is that observation, Evelyn, I don't think is a coincidence. I think that word was intended for as George said, when you read that, we see the masculinity, and I think that was the intent of it all. To see that man had superiority, and there's the man that did this and did that. So yeah, so just I agree with what George said, but I don't think it was just a coincidence, all I'm saying, that the scriptures read that way.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
Good morning, this is Audrey. If I could just add to that, back then when the Bible was being written, women were not considered as equal to men in terms of their person. Um, they were basically property.
Yeah.
They went from being their father's property to being their husband's property. So the Bible wasn't really written for them,
Mm.
because they were not considered to be on the same level of humanity as men were. So they didn't get, so it was, the Bible was not written for them.
Yeah.
It was written for men, and men would tell their wives what to do and what to think and what to expect and all of that.
Yeah. I agree.
And again, Audrey, just to piggyback off of what you said, I mean, we have come to understand that in terms of our reading from the scriptures, when they talked about the risen Christ, you know what I mean? And who was the first one to see the risen Christ? It was Mary Magdalene and the women who had that first visitation, but they were not allowed to say what they saw. I mean, they had to they had to reiterate that back to John, the men, who were now able to pronounce or to say what it was, but actually it was, again, like I say, Mary Magdalene. So it just makes us, again, search for truth, or to be able to discern and have our intuition speak to us in a way now that, we're able to appreciate the truth, if that makes sense, Ron. I'm done.
And as we summed up yesterday, just agreeing with what George and Audrey just said, as we talk about uncovering truth, what we're doing is redefining these things in the macro. We're uncovering what the scriptures truly are saying before they are manipulated, so that others can see as well. So that's the importance of this. We're stripping away all the dirt and the filth and all that selfishness and greed and chaotic words that just meant to confuse and cause, cause chaos. So, that's also part of what we're doing now.
So Ron, I thought about, oh, I'm sorry.
No, ma'am, no, ma'am.
If somebody got something to say, I got a question.
Go ahead.
So when Audrey made a statement about how women were considered as men's property, and to this day still, for some, I thought about how a lot of men, I don't believe, I think a lot of them listen to their wives, to the feminine part of them. And I think about how when a man did support his wife and respect who she was, they would give him the term henpecked.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see what Audrey talking about now. I see it. And then when you were talking about Mary Magdalene and, how she was the first, she and the other two women were there, I guess. I don't remember the story, but about the risen Christ or whatever. I go back to the thought about not the thought, but what Kathy with the Kate had said about women are magnets. And I thought about Mary of Magdalene, mag, has something to do with drawing, receiving. So that was just a thought that I had. Okay, I'm done. I'm thinking out loud, but I'm talking it out as well. So does that line out with what we're talking about today about the feminine? That's my question.
I think it is related, Evelyn. You know what? You bring up an interesting point. I've never looked up Magdalene, what that name actually means. But that is interesting that you say that. And again, I to George's observation, what you said about the women being the first at the tomb, again, I think that's one of those things where uh, if the editors of the scriptures, the ones who tried to make those changes, had seen the spiritual significance of that, they would have changed that as well. That they would have made that into something different. But their intent was to say, okay, women are servants, so they were there. They had to go there first to prepare the body. They were supposed to be there to work, to do something that men didn't do, not knowing what, from the spiritual perspective, what they were truly saying.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and Miss Evelyn. That was that henpeck. I've heard it, and the question I just got for the group is, my cousin, who's a therapist, she called me up within the month, and she said, George, my son, he too nice in his relationship. And we just got into a conversation of, why is being nice a penalty? And based
Ask her
upon
what
the
she meant,
question,
George.
yeah, and if, in a polite way, his niceness will get him taken advantage of.
Okay.
And to some degree, that is true, yet being nice is, it should never be looked at as a penalty. Yet just based upon what Ms. Evelyn stated, not the European, not white folk, with black folk, why is it when the African-American male is submissive to his wife, or submissive to humanity, more so his wife, why do we have to say, I ain't henpecked, I just got henpecked ways? Why do we look at our own culture, not them Europeans, not none of them? Why do we look at the African American male who shows respect to his wife, toward his household? Why we call that man henpecked? Now, it can't not be that Miss Evelyn and I are the only two people that have never heard that word before, henpecked. Now, it wouldn't surprise me though. Yet, why do we do that to a relationship and damage and critique that African American male? And it's almost like you're saying that the African American female is a slave driver. Miss Evelyn, you understand what I'm saying? Because you did bring it up now.
I'm listening to you, and I'm just processing what you're saying. I can't give you an answer right now, but I've heard that, yeah, henpeck, yeah, they were saying that the man or the men were too nice, as you say. Yeah, let me process what you're saying. That's all I'm asking.
Well, not only have I heard it in my time, of course, it became a very powerful thing. It carried a lot of weight, and not only that, it moved things around, I guess, in different directions, that men did not like carrying that type of title around. But so I understand your question, George. Can I open it to the floor? Or does someone else want to address that?
Ron,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Kathy. I'm not addressing per se what George is asking. This is Kathy with a K. I want to add to that by asking yet another question to layer what George is asking. From what I've observed growing up, because that is a term that I think everyone may be familiar with or at some point you've heard. But my thing is, from what I observed, that term did not come from women calling their husbands henpecked. Other men would call them henpecked, saying that they were weak So it's not a label that I saw feminine energy attaching to anything. That was a label that other men who saw a man being loving kindness to his wife or to whatever relationship he was in with that female, if he went out of his way to just do nice things and to be kind, other men would say that to them. So I don't want us to miss that, because that's part of the question too. When you layer that, the question becomes, why did other men feel it necessary to re-up their friends and say, oh man, she's got you henpecked? Because to me, that was a term that came from men, not women. And I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Great observation, and you're exactly right. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Sheldon. How's everyone doing?
Hey, Sheldon.
I believe strongly that George and Kathy with a K's question or comment basically come from, and Kathy hinted at it, the idea of strength, power, and control. And the men, and it is a European influence. I don't think it actually can be isolated without looking at it from that, George, because that is an influence that we as a culture, to some extent, have been under in terms of how we look at ourselves, which has been degraded in some way. Men are looked at or thought of and believe that in order for a man to be man or be what he is to be strong, to be powerful, to be controlled, and be the leader, but be the leader to the point where you, the man, not you, George, but just saying the general man, is in control and not being told what to do. When I think it was last week, when we were talking about what's going on in the presidential race and the idea of feminine energy leading, and I was mentioning power. I can't remember. I was not mentioning both of them, but it was the power and control, which is an idea of going back to how women were treated. Women were treated as property. You can even say, look, that is being animals. What do you do with animals? You tell an animal what to do. The animal does not have any rights. The animal doesn't have any autonomy, to do what it is. The animal doesn't have the freedom to then flourish and in their own right grow, in a sense, to Elohim. That's what happens when in that terrible form in a relationship where a man is in complete control. The femininity in both of those individuals is not allowed to flourish and grow. So in a sense, when that femininity is actually nourished, that femininity, as Evelyn said, in terms of, I think it was Evelyn who said, is magnetism a little while ago, is allowed to then work. And in a sense, when that femininity is empowered, it is then is in more so of a support and even aid to the masculine, and lets the masculine actually grow and flourish as well. If you think about it in terms of flow, if you cut off that femininity, in a sense, that nourishment, then you don't have much growth at all. The one last thing. So, and because I don't think I did a great job of being clear, even though others definitely did a great job last week when it relates to balance. When we say balance, we don't mean anything is in control. We don't mean anything is power dominating anything. We just mean that both entities are allowed to healthily grow and flourish. And the reason why there's so much pushback on femininity, because there's that fear, because that masculine, I'm not saying all masculine, but more so from a general standpoint, masculinity right now looks at things through power and control, and to actually empower in a sense, or to actually nourish femininity to masculinity that's not balanced looks like a loss of power and control, and therefore is very, very fearful of doing so. I said a lot. If there's any questions, please ask them. Kind of like all of this is just coming together right now, but I'm finished at the moment.
Okay. Thank you, Sheldon. That was clear. And I add something to what you just said by reading something that this is all coming from spirituality before religion. Uh, and the funny thing is many times well, I say many, the times I've read this, I had never seen this verse. I mean, this sentence. It says humans were believed to be the synthesis of both male and female energy. Both male and female energy. So we talk about humans, or the twinness constantly interacts with the cosmos, which is the organized and arranged part of the universe. So we talk about being human. You first, it is no coincidence we talk about this. Feminine energy has become so important to us to see and to understand and relate to it. And as Sheldon said, talk about this submissiveness, this part of it. But all of that kind of comes together to me. We're in a place that kind of is helping define all of these terms. But I don't want to get too far off away from the question. Anybody else had an answer for George's question? Thank you, Sheldon.
Ron, this is Kathy again. I just wanted to add one thing to what you're saying. When you're looking in the book Spirituality Before Religions, what you find is when we talked about the Black Cosmic Mother taking the throne, and it defined the magnetism of the feminine energy, it spoke of the male energy being just that, the electrical charge.
Yeah.
So with the magnetism and the electrical charge, it stated very clearly that basically one does not operate without the other, that they both need each other to bring about balance. And so I think somehow that part may have been overlooked, or maybe we've forgotten that part, but because we do spend a lot of time talking about feminine energy, but I think, and it is necessary. I don't think that's a bad thing. We definitely need to get an understanding of feminine energy, a better understanding. But I think it should not be lost on us that it takes both working in conjunction together to bring about the balance that we're looking for. And so if we can keep that in mind, we can't just say, like we were talking earlier about henpeck and all of those things. Those are mistakes made from the past, and thank goodness we're recognizing them for what they were, the mistakes of the past, and that's what we're doing to right the wrongs now, to bring everything into balance by looking at things and uncovering it and discussing it. And so, but the main point I just wanted to make is that it very clearly stated that it takes both of these energies working together as one to bring about the harmony and balance in the universe that we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm sorry, was somebody about to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I was going to say, oh, I'm sorry, I yield.
Hey, appreciate you, Miss Evans. I'm about to get off this section anyway, but thanks. One of the things about masculine energy that we need to come to grips with is that masculine energy is an elite. And whenever you are an elite, and forget what Oxford and Webster say, you ought to serve something. And masculine energy is to serve feminine energy. So I ain't never heard anyone in this group say anything good about masculine energy. Yet I hear people say the energy's got to work with one another. If there's nothing good about masculine energy, Why does it have to work with feminine energy? So, but that's another topic. All I'm saying is masculine energy in its truest form, is designed to serve feminine energy. And when masculine energy is in its truest form, how are you all reacting to it? Because it's a gracious and abundance of good that comes in masculine energy.
George, can I say something
It's
before you
kinda-
get off the phone? You say you're
So,
about
but
to get off.
hear me.
Oh, okay, go
Hear
ahead.
me out on this, Ron, and I'll let you. Masculine energy has free will. Feminine energy does not have free will. I can disrespect feminine energy all day long. Nothing ain't gonna too much happen to me because feminine energy is on peace, love, unity, empathy, forgiveness. Masculine energy, you can get into a lot of trouble when you disrespect masculine energy. And when I say masculine energy, I ain't saying you can get into a lot of trouble disrespecting the man. I said you can get in a lot of trouble when you disrespect masculine energy. So masculine energy has some good in it. And it's an elite, and it's designed to serve feminine energy at all costs too now, at all costs. Yet there are some cases now when masculine energy presents itself, the truest form of masculine energy, the good part of it. How y'all reacting to it? Because if I ain't never heard you say something good about masculine energy, maybe you don't know that when it's in its true form, how effective it is. So when you all are experiencing the trueness of masculine energy, how do you respond? And thank y'all for listening to me. I got all the time in the world to hear y'all response. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to point something out. There are times, like yesterday, I did something that I thought was not, lack of a better way of saying it, not very smart. And I said to myself, Ron, why'd you do that? How much sense did that make? But I moved on because the part that did the dumb thing or the not so smart thing and the part that corrected him is all me. I couldn't beat up one part of myself over the other. It's all me. I said at the onset, there was some part of us that met together. That there's some part of us all that came together, and it may have looked different than to all of us. For example, my coming together to that point of truth and saying to myself, Ron, where are you? Why are you here? Why are you stuck in this religious place hearing this when you know there's something in you that's telling you this isn't right or this is more? When I came to that realization, that was the masculine and the feminine. That looked different to Nick. Why does it look different to Nick? Because he's a lot younger than me. He is not as covered over in the religious stuff as I am or had been. So, but that same crossroad, that same intersection, is where Nick met himself to move to this place because he could be anywhere now. So I think we still look at masculine and feminine as something, we see it separated. We see and it's not so much the separation, it's all us. It's a part of ourselves. It's no different than one part of my personality liking this color or wanting to buy this. Ron wants this type of car. And my common sense said, does that even make sense to you? You know you can't afford that. All of that's a part of me. And I'm probably not explaining this very well, but it's not so much that there's nothing right about masculine. There's nothing wrong with masculine energy, but it has been elevated to a state where it's causing chaos. And because of that, because we have taken on that nature, we all see and feel and experience that chaos. So just like when what the question that George originally brought to us and Evelyn spoke of you being henpecked, as Kathy said, that came from men. Why? Because we have taken on the role that chaos is right. That masculine energy is right. And without seeing the other side of it, that's who we were, and that's who we have been for so long as we have tried of being made to fit into this society. And that's all a part of why we're here now. Because for so long we have that little beat in us is saying, you know what? It's time to look for something else. It's time to make this thing that you have been into you. It's time to uncover the truth of who you truly are. And who you truly are is not this chaotic state of dominance and mistreating people simply because you see them as weaker. See, masculine energy does not only dominate feminine energy, it dominates the weakness of everybody and everything as it sees as not equal to itself. So all of that is what we're uncovering and addressing now, but it's not. It's no more right or wrong than femininity is right or wrong. Of course, you can overdo anything, but what we're trying to do is to show what balance looks like when you bring those two worlds together, two sides of self together. The vision of that should be in every relationship you have, not only with your wife or your significant other, but in every relationship that you have. You should see harmony changing, or what that harmony should look like. You should see all of your relationships coming into balance. So can somebody help with that? Or is that anybody have a opinion on that?
Yeah, this is Sheldon speaking. In regards to looking at it from just more so of a spiritual and energy standpoint, not looking at it from human beings. And it was said that we don't say anything positive about masculinity. We walk in the positivity of masculinity every single day. So just speaking of like traits of in our everyday lives of masculinity, being adventurers, explorers, being ambitious, pushing limits, innovations, and things like that. All of those are more so masculine traits. When we're talking about there being more balance, and we talk about when masculinity gets out of balance, it is as it is striving to do those things that it controls, in a sense, doesn't respect the divinity of femininity, that thing actually becomes a problem. In the same way, and I use martial arts sometimes, you wouldn't say that some humble martial artist who's like at the top of their craft, just because they have restraint and they may try to find out a way to diffuse the situation. By no means from the person's ability would you just automatically say that they don't have those masculine traits. They do. They just understand the masculine traits that it has and possesses, and then tries to use it responsibly. So when we talk about masculinity being balanced, it's understanding that we're not here to absolutely control the rest of creation. When we talk about it is not true that masculinity has free will and femininity doesn't have free will. Everyone has free will. Free will is a necessary element that cannot be taken away from love, because with true love, it is something or a person or a thing, a spirit doing what it wants to do on its own accord because it wants to do it, not because it was forced to do it or manipulated to do it. You cannot say that someone loves you if that person was forced or tricked to love you. To experience the truest form of love, which is inherent in creation, it has to do it on its own will, on its own accord, from its free will. So to correct the notion that we don't believe in masculinity is absolutely not the case. We are simply focused on, through ourselves, in understanding masculinity and still being respectful of the of femininity, and then allowing that, putting that in the macro so that everyone also has an opportunity to experience, but for ourselves as well. It cannot be denied that there has been a huge problem. I don't want to say problem, but let's say things have shifted in this earth for some time now where masculinity has sought to completely control to the detriment of growth and nourishment. You want to look at your government, if you want to just look at it from a physical material standpoint, you want to think about policies as it relates to the care of the earth. You want to talk about in terms of feeding those who are considered, quote unquote, the lesser of us. You have over and over again examples all over the place where those who are powerful and controlled and who are basically rogue masculinity takes advantage and feeds on others. That is what we're talking about. We're not talking about masculinity in itself being bad or being terrible. I'll finish at the moment.
Great explanation. Thank you. Very, very thorough. I hope that helps, but anyone else, don't want to cut you off. Because I think George brings up a great point, and I think it's one of those things that needs to be cleared up, and as we say, put out there, because there are other people that may not understand the concept either when we talk about that. We are not talking about individual people here.
So Ron, if I've heard, this is Barbara, good morning.
Good morning.
Afternoon. No, good morning. From what I've heard everybody say then is the threads that I have heard from everyone. George stated that there was no free will, and we understand that everyone, whether every energy source, everyone who's energy has free will. From what Kathy started with as a reminder to us that the feminine energetic forces and the masculine energetic forces need each other in order to bring balance. What I heard you say is give an example of how these energetic forces play within each of us. That there may be that we balance each other, we pull from whatever source in us we need to in order to regain that balance. But making that decision is a free will choice. I can choose to act on what you said about, oh, you know that was the wrong thing. Why'd you do that? You know that was wrong. There was a better way to do it. And just accept that, yeah, I'm right. There's a better way to do it. As opposed to saying, it doesn't matter whether there's a better way. That's my way to do it. That's the only. I mean, that there is choice even in that when we make these internal decisions. So, making a choice to understand when someone says you're henpecked, you can choose to receive that and say, "Man, you're right," based on your cultural kinds of ego perspective, or you can choose to say, "No, man, I'm not henpecked. I just love her." And so it is the way we choose to balance those two energetic forces within ourselves internally as well as external that bring the balance. So That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
No, thank you. Beautifully said. That ties it together beautifully.
Sharon,
Thanks.
this is Evelyn.
Hey, Evelyn.
I have a comment. I listened to what Barb said. Everybody said, love the conversation. But I thought about something.
Okay.
I just want to put out there again, the men that pass the covers, I don't know everybody, but the majority of them respect the female. Why? Because he's our covering. He respects the females in his life. And to me, that's a great example. But anyway, I have, going back to what I was thinking about when you were talking, I had put out there before that women, there are women who are not the male energy. We're not their enemy, but we're their enemy. And I know it's a lot of men out there who respect the female, but I'm gonna tell you something I noticed about the Faith family.
Evelyn, say that for me one more time. You're not the enemy, but you're the what now? I didn't catch
We're
it.
their energy.
Energy.
We are the female. Yeah, the feminine is their energy.
Gotcha.
As Stevie Wonder used to say, we don't use our love to make a man weak. We use our love to make him strong. So I'm saying this to say, perfect example of the men that I hear on this phone, well, not very few, but I listened on Monday nights to Charles and Thelma. Thelma uses her energy to help Charles sometimes relay a message to the family. That's energy. That's that feminine energy. And I love it. Because you know what? She loved that man. She uses her energy to make him strong. And I see that a lot. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And then I thought about when Sheldon, I have a question for Sheldon. So my question to you, Sheldon, is calling a person a man henpecked, did that term come from the European mindset? That's my question. Or, yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, it was.
And I know I said a lot.
Yeah, it's more so the idea of a European mindset of what it looks at how or what a man should be. But we have to remember that coming from, in terms of spirituality, and how even the Europeans actually, in a sense, translated or what they understood, the laws of Mayan, the Kabbalion and stuff, actually to me, it was translated from spiritual to physical forms. So when you look at what is power, it is no longer a spiritual standpoint, it's actually control. And to be exercised and to believe to be had, then it has to be control over others. And now it is looked upon, I possess that thing that I'm supposed to have that defines who I am and makes me the optimum of me. So to call someone handpicked is no different from to call them in a derogatory way, and I'm talking about from other men, and even some women participate in it, but to call a man a woman, or to call, even worse, a man a woman's organ. That is saying that they are lesser than. That is saying that they don't have any power. That is saying that they're just in to be controlled. Why? Because femininity in women are to be controlled. That's its proper place. So that whole idea, I can't remember who said it, whether it was Ron. That idea is for someone to be judging me, to call me handpicked, purely out of ignorance and not understanding in the way that they understand and they actually look at the world, which I must say, I'm not sure about Ron and Pastor, but me myself have got caught in that. So like I understand that standpoint because I used to think that way in some sense. In some sense, I was in but me now understanding. So it's not that I'm just talking about that viewpoint and saying it's bad. It's me, myself, having got caught up in that and understand exactly where it came from and understanding what was not known and seen and understood from a wisdom standpoint when I had that particular belief. A lot of the ideas that are prevalent that we're in contact with, we have to consider not necessarily the idea, quote unquote, the messenger, but consider where that person is in terms of their growth and their understanding. I hope I answered your question. I believe I said a little bit more as well.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in, Evelyn? This is Audrey.
Go ahead, sister.
We forget that this attitude about being henpecked comes straight out of Paul when he tells women to be submissive and husbands to take control of your wives, and you tell them what to think and what to say. It came straight out of religion.
Yeah.
So that is the root of it. So when a man calls another man henpecked, it's because of that. It's because of religion.
And these are basically the same. I didn't, but I did mean to cut you off because it's an important point to nail on right here behind what you just said. There's also the same kind of concept that underlining the whole justification for the enslavement of human beings. All of it's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But I did not even think of Paul, but you're absolutely right. It comes straight out of religion. Wow.
Well, I will say this, y'all. We look at henpeck as a badge of honor in the community that I roll with. And we look at it as a compliment of being submissive to our wife or to a female in any regard. So it's not a bad thing. It is where we are now. Just because a black man can't fry fish in his own house, that don't make him henpecked. That means he's just submissive to his wife and the rules that she brings forth in the house. Thank you.
George, let me say something right quick. We can actually marry these two things, and we don't even have to use the word submissive, right? We can say that both of those two individuals, being their optimal selves, are simply working together in a sense. And when we say create a balance, we don't have to look at someone being submissive or someone losing something to the other. That man can go in his way, embracing and honing his masculinity as well as his femininity. And I'm just giving just only one example. And that woman can go, in a sense, just like with some guardrails and safety to even the head out, right? So it's like that, and I'm just going to speak about it from a relationship standpoint, but I'm really talking about the greater spirituality of it, right? That man can go ahead, and as I was it was earlier, he can go being adventurous, he can go ahead being exploring, he can go on chasing dreams that for his family, that also, that woman is supportive of, that woman may like as well. In the sense, it could be like she has say-so. It could be her idea, and the man say, okay, I'm going to lead in this way and doing this thing. But they're working together. And the thing about a relationship is like, it's not that you just go and you just get assigned the relationship, and then all of a sudden you have to go along with that one particular woman in terms of what she wants, right? So part of this is our choice as a man as well. So we keep saying, be submissive, like we're losing some. Is that what we chose, or what we want to do in sense of our life in the way that we want to go in a sense? Is that the person who we are attached to who wants to do that same thing? We have that choice to do that, just like she has the choice to be with us, because women are not property where we just go and pick up. that's not how things work anymore, gratefully, thankfully. But there doesn't have to necessarily be this word of submission. It doesn't have to be that men are actually losing something. You can just simply, as a man, go and do all these things and then have support or another eye in a sense of look out, let's do this and let's do that. The thing is, what we're talking about with balance, we just basically saying doing it, whatever it is you're doing in life, creating, growing as a team, as an ultimate group project, not a group project where you have a leader and you have a worker. The two people are together, bringing their optimal abilities and their strengths together and balancing each other out. One may have strengths in one place, it's a weakness for the other, and vice versa. What we're going to do here as a team, as a group, wherever the strength lies, that's where we're going to lean on. But there's only a special balance for those two individuals. Is a unique balance. Is not like anything else with anyone else. So the whole idea also for someone coming from the outside and not understanding the dynamics of the balance of that particular relationship and calling it henpeck, they're coming with their own ideas and not understanding, coming from a totally different place, looking from the outside looking in. I'm finished.
Awesome,
Well,
excellent.
you know what,
Yeah,
Sheldon,
I'm sorry, Doug.
you
Go ahead,
from
Doris, go ahead.
you from up north, ain't you?
No, I'm from South Carolina. I've only been up here for a few years. My family is from outside of Columbia, Hopkins and Eastover.
Oh, okie doke, because most up north brothers, they can't deal with that word, henpeck. Most down south brothers, hold on for 1 minute, yeah. That 181-733 ain't no lock on that, boss. I just not checked it.
Yeah, I'm up north. I'll respond later.
If I make a comment on this.
That GC?
Yes, it was. Yeah, I'm up north.
All right, GC, I want to hear
I'll
from
check.
Yeah, George Watts. It's just the idea that the misconception that men are necessarily losing out when they work with someone a balance, like is looked at as being a zero-sum game, where it's all nothing. Like, I just want somebody, I want to have an assistant for my life to support what it is that I want to do. So that's all I want. And if this person is not being an assistant, then I'm losing. It's more so the idea. And so this whole discussion, what we're talking about, we're not, I hear you and understand what you say about us not saying anything positive about masculinity. No, I'm trying to say the positive things about masculinity, but also at the same time, put masculinity in its right place. So now, to shade of what you said, now us saying what healthy, empowered masculinity actually looks like. So thank you for your comment. I know you are on mute, and I'm just saying this while you're waiting when you can speak.
Well, look here. You can call me henpeck. Just don't call me too
We're not calling you henpeck.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, Sheldon. I'm not saying Sheldon.
Oh, okay. You talking about others.
It ain't
Got it.
Yeah. I'm just saying, just don't call me too late when you're cooking some short ribs and pinto beans over rice. I don't have a problem with the word henpeck. I know some people do. I've never had a problem with that, because if you look at it on some simple, the anatomy or the psychology of it, a lot of black men can't take no pain. Females can take a great deal of pain. We gonna do whatever we got to do to keep peace in that house. Any one of y'all married or any one of y'all in a relationship, the female tell her boyfriend or the female tell her husband, babe, I'm hungry. Where you want to go eat? The male gonna say, it don't matter where you want to go eat. We ain't gonna get in all that dialogue about where you want to go. Even if we don't like the restaurant, we ain't gonna get, I know I ain't gonna get in that. Don't matter, wherever you want to go. So I don't look at henpeck as a bad thing. Now, I know some cats up north, some brothers up north, and when I say that, I'm talking about brothers above Delaware. You call them henpeck, they feel a certain kind of way. A brother up north, he gonna take care of himself first. A brother down south, we taking care of humanity first. Any brother down south go up to New York, them women ain't used to that. They're not. They're not used to a man that will take care of humanity before he takes care of himself. Or they, you know what? He just take care of humanity. He don't get nothing on this go round. So you got to look at the dynamics of it also. In conclusion, I'll say this. Some people you can't be nice to. And guess what? Some of those people are female, some of those people are male, some of those people are black, some of those people are Europeans, white, Puerto Ricans. That's just how it is. People you can be nice to, just don't be nice to them. People that you cannot be nice to, keep your eye on them. Thank you very much.
GC, would you like to address that, sir?
Yeah, no, good afternoon again, and I just want to, thank, Sheldon and everyone in reference to their responses, to the question, and I just want to, just say personally, again, I just have the utmost respect, for, feminine energy, and at the same time, I have so much respect for who I am, the man that I am, and I just want to, be able to see, the importance of that balance that we can talk about, and Sheldon mentioned Tahuti, in terms of the masculine, but you also, again, have, the goddess Maya. And so I think that there's a polarity, there's a balance, but to all of the men on the phone, again, and we know that we have power, but I just choose to want to use it in the principles of Maya or look at it in terms of righteousness. So again, I appreciate the question, Brother George. And I just want to say, to all of us, we have the power, you know what I mean, to make a difference. And if we use it in the righteous way, I believe that harmony can manifest for the purpose of what it was created for. And so I'm deeply grateful for the conversation today. And I'm grateful for who I am, the man that I am, again, with the utmost respect for the feminine energy also. I'm done, Ron.
Thank you, George.
You better say it, GC. You better say it.
Amen.
Listening to this discussion, I thought about a task that each and every one of us, well, maybe not all of us, do every day that's very simple, that we engage masculine and feminine energy. You know what that is? Driving. The decisions you make when you're driving, the speed you're going to go, how selfish you're going to be. Are you going to cut people off? Are you going to be nice to people? Or are you going to obey signals? Are you going to be polite? Are you going to cause confusion? Are you going to run stop signs? Are you going to see things about to happen and let a car in to keep from having an accident? We're engaging. We're bringing about balance in ourselves when we do this. Going from one destination to the other. We don't think about how engaging we are and just the everyday little things that we do. Getting up, going to the kitchen, the decisions that we make, the motives behind the decisions that we make. So again, I think this was one of those things that was necessary that we talk about.
Ron,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Kathy. I want to add one point, but I did hear ST's voice, and I wanted S to speak before I speak.
I'm sorry, S. I didn't hear you. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Ron, I was just sitting back, listening, taking it in. Thank you, Kathy. A couple of points. Going back to, I think Evelyn mentioned how the men on this call respect the women, but actually, we all respect each other here. I don't think there's one above the other, whether you're female to female, male to male, male to female. I think we understand that we respect each other. And one of the other aspects I was going to address with George, the henpeck, and that's just an illusion and a distraction. Balance is about, the problem we have with balance and the term henpeck is really about leadership. So who are you going to allow to lead at that point? And that's really based on our awareness. In some areas, one person or one mindset may be aware of something else versus the other, but it's really the mindset of awareness. It's not whether it's feminine or masculine energy at time. That comes by natural instinct, but really the person who leads in one point or the other is just how aware are they in that situation. You should let the person that's more aware step forward and lead. And so I think the term really came from trying to take leadership away from the feminine and give it to the male. And for so long, we've been wrapped up in different roles. What role should a man play? What role should a woman play? I mean, just 60 years ago, probably even shorter, women didn't even drive, didn't even have a license to drive. And so you evolve, and we've got to move away from what the role of one person should be and just really focus more on who's more aware and tapping into that awareness, and that also helps the balance. So I was just going to say that those are my 2 points, really not to get distracted or caught up on the term henpeck, but really just building our awareness in situations and understanding that the roles have separated us for so long. And so when you use the term drive, I can remember my grandmother didn't drive, but now it's not a big deal. So we've been able to move beyond that, but just keep the focus on our awareness, and that will take care of the balance. That's it.
Great observation, S. You're right. Thank you.
And Ron, the only thing I was going to add, it goes back to what you said probably 15 minutes ago. This is all taking place on the inside of us.
Yeah.
The masculine and feminine energy is in all of us. And I know it may sound hard sometimes to hear where masculine energy went wrong, but you can't, if you don't know where you're starting from, what the starting point is, when you're moving forward in this journey of awareness and spiritual awareness, you have to uproot what has been wrong. And in uprooting that, you are pulling up and digging up where something went wrong, and you have to point that out to make that correction to move forward. This isn't condemning one gender over another, because it's not even about gender. Like we said before, this is learning how to regulate and balance what's inside of you. I know I have a strong personality, and there are times when I'm going to take that lead, and if you call that operating in the masculine role, then I will. But then there are times when I'm very vulnerable and very just soft-natured, and that's my feminine side of my feminine energy in me. And I recognize that both of those are in me, because when I have to take that lead, I know how to step up and do it. And when I don't want to have to do it, I allow others to, like you said, is knowing just when to take the lead and letting someone work their strengths. That's what it's all about. And so it's not a competition with males over females. It's not about being handpicked or being not. If you're confident in who you are and your roles and understanding who you are as a spiritual being, it no longer becomes, am I doing this as the husband versus am I doing this as the female? It's all about just knowing who you are as a spiritual being, and that these energies are at play in you at all times. And you can reverse those roles at will when you have to, and understanding that. But the reason we have had to point out the shortfalls with masculinity is because that's where we had to start from as a springboard to move forward in growth, in spiritual growth and spiritual understanding. So it's not criticizing one gender over another. It's just looking at where things have gone wrong and putting things back on track. That's all that we're saying, and that's all that we're doing. And it's not bashing one gender over another, because all of this energy is at play in us, and we need to learn how to regulate that and to balance that to make it all make sense and to have that energy. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, I'm driving. So, but I just wanted to add that, because if we get bogged down in what the male is doing over what the female is doing, we will miss the whole thing that we've been teaching for years now about energy flows and understanding spirituality. And I don't want us to miss that and get bogged down on, well, what is the man doing, or what is the black man from the South doing, or what is the man from the North doing? Because that's not what we're talking about. But I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
No, thank you. Can never bring enough clarity. Good job. Thank you, UNS. Is there anyone else? This may be a good place to take a pause. And the beauty of what we do are the questions. You never know what is going to be asked and how much that thing is needed. So this is where we went today. This is what we needed to talk about. And good job. I appreciate all the questions and the answers and all your energy, whether you spoke or not. Let me say this. We are meeting at 3 o'clock today. Let pastor and the teachers know that with the group, the Church from California. And we will not be on tomorrow. So if we're going to observe the holiday. So if there's anybody that's not on that you are aware of, please let them know that we will not be meeting tomorrow. Okay. And I forget any, excuse me, do I forget anything else? Great discussion. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Well, you guys have a great
Ron,
week. Yes.
Ron, I was just going to ask, did GC get his point? Did he get to speak regarding the North Carolina, up north and down south guys? I hope I didn't miss it. I just wanted to make sure he got that point across.
Oh, yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All righty then. I hope you guys have a great week. I look forward already to Saturday. Thank y'all.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.